Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond, broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Back at you, Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitron. I'm here with Shihan Abbott, and we're going my brother from another mother, really. And we're just going to talk about martial arts, discipline, tradition, and what's going on in today's world in the martial arts schools, because things have changed. You know, we both of us have seen the martial art that we teach in its original place. He lived and trained in Japan. I lived and trained in France. We both taught over there. We both learned over there, and we come back here to the United States to a microwavable world. And it's 5 minutes, and the person's a black belt. And with that, my brother, how can you elaborate more on what I was saying? You know, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the martial arts right now.
Well, all I have to say is when you study in France or you study abroad, for example, in Japan, they have the same dynamics in their population too. But since it's their art, there's more people you can practice with. But when we come back to the microwaved America, it's a lot different. It's watered down. You lose that humility, you lose the respect, and then you turn it into American made or whatever other Western word you want to use. From there, they put it into their own mindset and they take out the most important word, and that is discipline. And without discipline, you can do whatever you want because no one's holding your feet to the task.
Absolutely. You know, you're absolutely correct. You need discipline, and discipline teaches in the art. Because not only that, you're learning a discipline. You know, you're learning the two dimensions of the word discipline. You're getting yourself disciplined and you're learning a discipline. And that to me is the most important part out of everybody else. You know, I've ran a commercial school for a long time. I had to. We've taught many people just like you. And I've kind of shied away from the babysitting aspect of the martial arts. I can't deal with that. And I can't deal with that because it's not what it's for, you know? And everybody, my brother, since I would say since the 90s or early 90s, or when I came back, you know, the early 90s, you would see parents come in and say, he's lacking discipline. But the things have changed. Before, you would see the father bringing in little Johnny and say, teach him how to fight.
And that's really difficult when these people are trying to helicopter their kids and not watch them at the same time. So what happens is simple. They want to put fighting in for 20 minutes a week. So we're going to come over here 10 minutes after everybody gets dressed, after everybody gets set up, and then they're going to learn discipline and how to fight and learn humility in a 15-minute class or a 20-minute class because every little kid is running around like crazy. What holds them together is the screen. You know, and the hard part is that the schools, as you well noticed from back in the 90s too, they went from a school of discipline to a school of baby care or youth care, where the kids would just come on in, they'd come through a martial arts door, they'd walk through a martial arts mat into the back dressing room and area where they have computers so they can play games on the computers. And I don't know if they were martial art games. So from that thought process, even 20 or 30 years ago, you can see that they're not working out that hard. And the most important aspect to the martial art is you can't think about it with your head because you can pick it up in a second. I saw Star Wars. I can be like Luke Skywalker in 8 minutes. It's my body that can't cash the checks my mind is paying. So what happens is that these people, they go in and in their head they're black belts, but their bodies are still stumbling yellow and brown, yellow and purple belts just because they don't put in the disciplined practice, and they can't because everybody's used now to instant gratification, and with that, they go on to the next dojo and the next dojo and the next dojo or dojang or other school just because, hey, I was guaranteed a black belt if I paid on the dotted line.
You're absolutely correct. And that happens. That's happened here. I've had many parents. In Savat, there's no black belt, and capoeira either. In Campo, you do have. We follow a little bit older rules. You can be 17 years old and get a black belt in Campo. Just like my teacher used to say, and the others, first generation under Parker used to say. And parents come here, and I remember one mom. She told me my son's been here for 3 years and he's not a black belt. My nephew is going to the school on McPherson and he's already a black belt, been there 9 months. And I go, good for him. But your son's not going to get one until he's like 17. So she removed him from here, went to that other school, ended up picking up I know the school, ended up picking up bad habits because everybody over there used to sit around the parking lot and light something up and kind of meditate on it. And guess what? Now the kid's in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And
I know what you're saying.
I go, it's where you want to stick your children in. You want to stick somebody into that type of mentality. They're out there.
Hey, California came to Texas. That's what it is. Just California free living, and everybody has an opinion, even though they got it out of Google. And it's all homogenized through something. And but let's go back to the physical part of it. Even though mentally we could all be on the same paper, physically we're not matched up equally because there's people who try and there's people who do.
Absolutely. And now you have the kid, now he's in juvie.
Where he really learns how to fight, and it isn't martial arts.
He's going to learn how to fight. All right.
Learn how to fight.
So
not too well, but he's going to learn how to eat a punch. And that's a really important factor. See, a lot of these martial artists that are put out with the indoctrination that we're all in black belts, they get hit in the mouth once, they lose all their thought. It's just the way it is. Here's case in point. I have a friend who has a son, and his son isn't slow or anything, but his motor skills aren't the same as, say, my son's, for example. And sure, he's been doing martial arts for a long time. The problem is that his motor skills just can't put in that winning punch, and he was going for his second-degree black belt. And so as far as punching and kicking, no. But as far as taking it and eating the punch and him getting beat up by all the other guys for his second-degree black belt test, that's a secondary black belt where you can take it, hit you to the ground, you get back up, shake yourself off, and continue fighting. And that's the difference between old martial arts and new martial arts. Because if you think about it, everybody that went into the martial arts were pussies.
Yeah.
And now they're tempered into stronger individuals, but we've lost that to the California way.
You
should term that the California way.
Yeah, absolutely. And and there's some great martial artists coming out of California. We still have some great guys over there, but
don't let me cough too hard. I learned one thing with Black Belt magazine when they had that big, huge gala thing back around the turn of the century where all the black belts, all the people, the people of all the people, and they invited the whole LA basin to come for free in Studio City, 2 days of videos and everything like that. Not very many martial artists. Now, the people that are well known, we all toasted ourselves. But the average guy out there, the average blue belt, they didn't show up because people in LA, they all wear capes. And since you wear a cape, hey, I don't need no training. I know better than these experts. And that's what they also think. They do something, they go, I can do my own hybrid way. It's sort of like you drinking a beer and all of a sudden saying, well, yeah, I can make my own. And they do. And it tastes like
Yeah.
twigs.
Yep. You're absolutely, you're correct. I mean, there's no arguing or debating on that. That's the actual fact. And people come out and now, they'll change the name, or they never became, they went to a martial arts school. Most of them didn't get to the advanced level. They have brown or red. Most of them stayed, maybe lucky, got into an intermediate level in the place. They got mad by the instructor, or they probably stopped paying him, or what have you. They look a couple of videos on YouTube. They get a couple of videos from here, and might go to a seminar or two by under somebody. And all of a sudden now they'll put the word tactical this, combative this in front of it. And you're like, but you still can't throw a punch. I know that you can't receive one. And you're going to take
his tactical mind, he's the boss. And that's the problem. They're not graded with a group of people. It's sort of like skydiving. If you skydive by yourself, you're the best skydiver in the world. But if you skydive with a group and you screw up, guess who buys the beer? So, and one little screw up, screws the whole thing up in the dive when you do relative work with everybody. I used to skydive a lot back in the day. So if you're dealing in a team sport, and martial arts is a team sport, if you're going to be, even on the street, you're fighting against someone, it's their team against you, and usually more than one person. So you can see it's that team against yourself. And if you can't get out of that situation physically, and that's the problem, physically, because their mental capacities are 10th degree black belts, but their physical capacity is a yellow belt that's 60 pounds overweight, and it's hard to get to the refrigerator between commercials.
absolutely.
But that's the new norm, because I just saw in Sports Illustrated magazine a dude on the cover in a bikini. It's hard to find discipline when a dude can wear a bikini, an overweight dude. You know what I mean? So you can see that it's very difficult for people to be able to open their eyes and see discipline in its true basic form, and they're being pushed against it. It's sort of like they look at martial arts and some other factor on social media said, you don't need to do that. You won't be homogenized with the rest of us. Google, keep your head down, your fingers up, like rabbits, and you're making me speechless now because I see the fuck-uppery of it all.
No,
Excuse my French.
and it's interesting because there's very few that think the way we think, and it's kind of hard because you're trying to teach somebody, listen, if you go out there, the world is cruel. If you're gonna, myself, I train, you're like yourself, we train, we're training constantly, we're looking at something constantly. We might not have the physical physique as Frank Zane or Colombo when they were in their prime, but we can fight, believe me, and we will fight, but we will protect the ones that we love. Understand? That's what it's for.
Yes.
And so you're teaching a kid, guess what? You're gonna grow up, more than likely you're gonna end up with a pretty girl, and then you're gonna have to protect her. Are you able to or not?
Here's trying to protect him. He's drinking light beer again,
You know what I'm saying? And because it's like most people can't. I tell people this. Because what should I ask if I go ask another martial artist about his school or him training? Well, number one, ask him when the last time he used it. Did he use it in the ring? Was he a tournament fighter? Was he protecting people? Did he use it in the street? When was the last time he got in a fight? Because if the last time he got in a fight was because his sister was protecting him in the schoolyard, walk out of that school. You're not going to learn anything from that school. Understand where you're at. Understand what you're doing this for.
Yes. And that's
Understand?
really hard for lots of people. It just is. You know, they don't fight because it takes a lot of energy. Now, I was really lucky when I went into weaponry in Japan because I loved sparring and I loved fighting. But I soon discovered in my late 20s before I went to Japan that I couldn't eat a punch like candy like I did when I was 20. You know, just 5 or 6 years tacked onto that, I'm starting to feel old. But I discovered over learning kendo and sword fighting is you can beat on each other all day long with bamboo, even into your 90s. And I saw that I could elongate all my, my sparring and my fighting. And you can get beat up. You know, if you and I spar and we don't connect with our punches, we can't go full on because we'll get hurt. But with bamboo, you can hit them as hard as you can and a nice tag, that kind of stuff. So I've been really lucky to be able to, I can honestly say that I spar like you are going in for the point, the shot, the kill, at least every day. So that really makes a lot. So what I'm saying here is that when people go in as couch potato Californiites in the martial arts, and we're all 25 years old, and 10 years goes by, 20 years goes by, 30, 40 years goes by, and I see all my peers and I see everybody that I started with, now at 67, I see why lots of people have gone by the wayside because they never used it in sparring. They never used it in fighting. Therefore, they don't need to exert the energy.
Absolutely. And I see it. And every martial art is great out there if you take it as what it's for. And I understand that it is for that. You have your sports like your point karate, and if you want to go that route and you want to be involved in that type of competition, my God, do so. Be the best at it. If you want to be going to a combative sport like boxing, Savate, Thai boxing, MMA, and you want to train hard, find a school and go for it. If you want martial arts for longevity like yours, like others that can do that for self-defense of your own, find it and go for that. But recognize what the school is for, recognize what the art is for, and my God, recognize if that instructor is capable of doing that. Is he turning out people that are capable of defending themselves? If not, walk out. Remember,
Yes.
I'm the first one that will say that. I'm the first person that will turn people out. Like this last week, I had a gentleman that came in. He says, "Would you teach me how to fight for the ring?" Right now, I'm not training anybody for the ring. I go, "What do you want to train for?" "I want to train in boxing." You know what? Here's a number. In fact, I'll call them for you. And I'll set an appointment for you to go over there and train with him. If you really want to train and go for the ring for the boxing, please go over there. Because if you come here and you're training here and you think that I'm going to take you and I don't take you or I don't train for that, that's a total different type of training, you're going to get mad and say, I led you wrong. No, go. You want to box? You want to really go inside the ring for box? You boxed in the service, now you're out, now you want to continue going. This is a club here in Laredo to go to. And I would say, go. Here's a number. I called the coach, good friend of mine. You met him when you were here, and I told him, hey, he's going over there.
It goes into the whole context that most teachers here in the United States, they teach. Are the kids willing to learn? That's the problem. They can teach as hard as they can, but do the kids or the adults or whomever, do they learn? Over in Japan, they don't teach. They watch you learn because the people that want to learn the most get watched the most. So that's what the biggest difference. And that's why there's so many great martial artists over there because they don't waste their time on the people that don't really want to learn. They work with the people that wanna, gotta, instead of shoulda, coulda, woulda type of thing. So that's another mindset that's hard over here. But remember, over in Japan, it's basically all free through the Department of Education, with kendo and judo. Over here in the United States, it's everybody pays monthly, and the teacher has to make his money because he's in a strip mall, and that rent went up and the insurance went up. So what they have to do is they have to give to the devil to make sure they have students who are little pussies even after a year. And that isn't being a put. They might look good, they might look strong, but they get hit once, they fall to the ground like a sack of potatoes because they don't have that experience.
You're absolutely correct. And and sometimes over the lapse, I would say from the 90s this way, it's changed. Like I was telling you before, you used to get the father bring in the son and say, teach him how to fight. He needs to learn how to fight. The father. 2000, you go father and mother. The moms will bring in the little boy to come inside. Now, the moms are the ones that are looking for martial arts. They pick up the phone and the first question is, how much do you charge? When does he test for his black belt? How much do you charge? Those are the questions that the moms are asking. It's hard because now the father's been erased from the equation. The fathers don't bring them here anymore. So
Well,
it's
there
now
might not be any fathers. That's the problem. They've been pussified so much. I noticed this just traveling around. I really hadn't left Arizona in a while, and you know how it goes. So about a month ago, I went over to California, and immediately when I went through the border and I started seeing the males, because it's a little different over there, is that they lost 20% of their testosterone since last time I was there. Guys wouldn't look each other in the eye anymore. They sort of scurry away because they were afraid to be called something, or they didn't want to start something. They've been indoctrinated so much over there that even if they did get a martial arts class, they wouldn't throw a punch because they're afraid they'd be called a racist if they connected. It's amazing how the Department of Education and the atmosphere of today's news media has taken the men and decimated their balls.
they've been castrated, and
Oh,
and you're like, I look at it and you see that here. You're starting to see that bit by bit here, more and more, and you're like, listen. And I tell my, because I don't want to be monogamous in any form of fashion, but I tell my girls, they're once my youngest still, she's still in high school, she's a senior now, but my oldest, and I want you guys to be independent. I want you guys to be able to take care of yourselves. Period. Like my son, you guys who have to take care of yourselves in all facets of life. But I also want the boyfriend you're going to get to also be able to take care of himself and you. And by himself, he better know how to fight. He better be able to learn how to defend himself. Not because to prove something for me, but to defend you. I train just in case if I'm not trying to be a hero or what have you, but in case I go somewhere down the street with my wife, or I'm walking into a store and some yahoo comes up and goes after this old lady, it's up to me to defend that old lady because the police aren't there.
they're never
That's the way that's the way I was brought up in the arts. And you got in a street fight in the street, God forbid you disrespected your teacher's name. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that influence that was passed on from in France and here, it's what you want your students to be. I don't want my guys to go out there and be picking fights. Well, God, if something does happen to you, you're capable of defending yourself, and make sure that the person that did some harm is going to be the one that is looking up from the ground. Understand? And that's what people do not understand. What are martial arts for? To teach somebody how to knock the shit out of somebody else. To teach
That's what I
somebody
hear.
it's in case you get in my face, I'm going to get back in at yours and with a smile. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to do it in a nice way. Um, at one time, and not too far ago, long ago, our warriors, the Japanese, our warriors here, everywhere else, they had to be negotiators. They had to be politicians. They had to be community leaders. All that into one. If they sent somebody out, warriors out to another land, and they conquered, they weren't going to be abusive to the people. They were going to embrace them. That's what the warrior code was. And you embrace that people, you embrace their culture, and you continue moving forward. Of course, we have some dictators that were a little bit different, right? And those are evil. Evil will always be evil. But that's what you had. You did not send somebody that was trigger happy to go to a place that you got 50% that you might start a war that you might not win. So you send somebody up there that is level-headed, that can take care of business, and who knows, maybe there's a treaty. That's the type of people that you have. I tell people this. I go, you might be negotiating, learning how to negotiate your way out of getting your ass kicked at the bus stop. And that happens because you got some training in you. Not because
That's
you were.
the difference, and they see it in you.
Yeah.
They see it in you too. They, if you've had your ass kicked a lot, that means when someone wants to kick it, they've seen a kicked ass, and they're going to have to sweat for it at a minimum, unless they take a weapon. And even then, open hand is your second gun. So
Yeah.
depending how you work the situation, but then again, most good martial artists that are savvy wouldn't get into that predicament because they'd see it like driving 10 car lengths ahead. But most martial artists these days are taught that, well, I don't have to look up through the window shield in my driving of martial arts because I'm protected because I'm a black belt. Whereas the old ones, they'd have to sort of drive 10 car lengths ahead because they could see the crap coming along so they could sidestep. Therefore, the family would be safe. But everybody's in for themselves and no one puts effort in themselves. You notice that when you really try to make your bones or try to, what would we say, try to do something for yourself, you're held down. It's coming more and more like Japan, where the nail that comes up gets hammered down. But in Japan, it was over thousands of years how they did it, into their culture. Here in the Western world, they just started doing it a little bit more. And it's like it's just amazing how people listen to not themselves, and they don't discipline themselves, and they don't take care of their families. Or, as you said earlier, like your daughter, and her boyfriend, can he take care of his girlfriend? My daughter, she learned martial arts and sword all the way up because it's part of her heritage. And
Sure.
but her boyfriend, I teach him sword and a couple of things, and he's on top of everything. But yeah, he'd get clocked once. He'd be on the ground, go what. Whereas my daughter have her fingers in their throat. So there's a difference in discipline. Even though the boyfriend's father used to be a cop, and you assume the son would have but then again, everybody follows their own path during that part in society. Different, from 2000 to 2020 is way different from 1980 to 2000.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what's happening now. And to the parents out there, for the people out there listening to this, and you're looking for a martial arts school, study the school, study the effectiveness, study the longevity that school has gone on. A lot of schools were lost in 2020. We all know that story. The bat soup flu killed a lot of martial arts schools that were around for a long time. There's some new ones popping up. Study what they're for. Where do they come from? What is the lineage? Even though people might say, oh, lineage is not important. Yes, it is, because then you're going to find out how close to the flame of that martial art that they're teaching is, or is it just some hokey pokey martial art that just developed through osmosis, because they were looking through YouTube videos and all of a
It's
sudden now
called
they have
eclectic.
it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're like, all right, and I'm like, okay, and I see that. I see that with boxing with Savak. I boxed, I fought in the ring. At one time I was third in the world. I blew my hand, as you know, had 11 reconstructive surgeries, took me out from that. But that doesn't mean I can't teach you what the ring is.
Yes, yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I haven't produced champions. So you look at people here and they're going, oh, I'm doing boxing. Put your hands up, and their hands are right here. They're not even covering the face. Their hands are right here. You're like, oh, okay, keep doing that. You're doing
Well, they
wonderful.
haven't been slapped upside the head yet, and that's the biggest problem. You know, if you want to be good, you gotta fail over and over and over again. As I said earlier, I spar every day, and I still spar with bamboo, all that. The difficult part is I get tagged every day. Goddamn 25, 30-year-olds, they're quick. But nevertheless, they only tag me once, or they gotta sweat for it. Which most people can't. They don't. They fight with their hands on there. They fight like hamsters. California hamster, here I come.
California hamster style.
Hey, that's how, and they wear capes, and you saw them in those commercials with a SOL car.
We got some good guys in California still out there, and you guys are out there.
Now, the people that roll, they're pretty strong out there. The stick fighters are pretty strong out there. But the eclectics working in the strip mall schools, they all got capes.
Oh, man. And nothing wrong with them. I understand you have to make a living. I understand what it is, but start it straight off and explain to the parents. This is a babysitting service, and we're going to babysit your kid from here to this time, and we're going to try to teach him a little bit about what martial arts is, so when he does grow up older and he wants to do something that's for real, he can do that. But don't tell him that what you're teaching him is going to make him the next Navy SEAL, because it ain't going to happen.
No. The next Navy SEAL will be 5'8", skinny little guy.
Yeah. That grew up, that did boxing or wrestling in high school,
Yeah, and got his ass kicked all the time. Those are the ones that don't get up, the ones that stay up even after they get hit down, and that's through everything. If you look at even life in general or throughout history, it isn't the big brutes that made it through. No, it's the little skinny people, because they must. Because they got the discipline, they got the perseverance to endeavor.
Yeah. And you're correct. What you're saying is you have to fail. If you're failing, and that's what sparring is. Maybe I wasn't quick enough. Maybe I didn't have my hand up when I threw that jab. Maybe I dropped it. I got hit. Maybe I didn't bob and weave. I got popped. You learn.
Oh, you do. And even after you pop and weave 1,000 times, hey, you get popped again because you didn't weave.
Absolutely.
Hey, just got to eat it like candy.
Absolutely. Brother, we're running out of time, but folks out there, it's all about discipline, and go out there and don't be fooled about everybody yelling at one time. If you guys are going to go out there and look for a school, look at the oldest students that person has, because that's where you're going to get to, or where you're going to place your child is going to end up getting to. Look at the seniors of that school, and that's where it's going to be at. Okay, and if you go to a school and the seniors in front of the mirror combing his hair, well, that's how your son's going to end up combing his hair, looking at a mirror.
If it doesn't stink like sweat, it must be a daycare center.
Absolutely. But some of them pretty bad though. But
some of them get bad. Those are the nasty places where they don't cut their toenails, but they're working out, they're doing push-ups, they're being told that they're not the best.
Absolutely.
So if you think about it, sometimes unruly and nasty and dirty and stuff shows that they're disciplined in working out, but just not disciplined in folding laundry like all the other boys that are learning how to fold laundry. Hey, males are changing their stuff. So, all boys are puppy dog tails, even from a long time ago. They stink, they smell like dirt, they got stinky feet and everything like that. Now they're using Axe deodorant, they're trying to do their hair, they try to do this. I'm not stinky now, but guess what? They don't have that pheromone anymore either. It's being covered up by girl foo-foo,
You're
pushed down by the man. So yeah, you can see it. You can smell the difference. I go into a dojo over in Japan. I go, yeah, just like that. I come on in here and I smell soap.
No, you're correct. You're correct. You're correct. We have to kind of step back and look at everything that has been lost and try to get back to basics. And that's what I think people should do. And if you're a martial artist and you're listening to this, get back to basics. Get on your basics and do them over again. Because remember, a man that's good in his basics is a hard man to beat.
Hey, the basics last you forever.
Absolutely. You can learn all the advanced nitty gritty stuff that's fine and dandy, but if you don't have the basics, you're not going to pull that off.
Or you'll just be slapping people around on different joints of their body without really taking them down the way they should, so they have the fear in their mind and body never to screw with you again, because that's what it is. It's basically martial arts on my side of the field when you're dealing in swordsmanship is annihilation. It is, I'm going to tap them on the thing, I'm going to take off this, I'm going to do that. And since you can at full speed, in real time, it really, really makes a difference. So I would almost say that every student that goes to a school really needs to learn how to spar, and not for an hour a month. They need to take a technique, learn the technique, apply that technique, and then polish that technique after over and over and over. So after a year, they got 15 techniques that kick ass instead of 108 that they can't be sure of which one to do when they're going to get in a fight because they're too busy thinking, I might kill him. And the guy just comes up and punches the one in the mouth, and there it is.
You said something right there, the confusion of having way too much in your head. And that is absolutely correct. Basics, do them over and over. Learn one technique, do it over and over and over. Do it while you're sparring, do it over and over. Refine it and get it done.
That's how they grow them over in Japan. They start them off as little kids, and the first few years, like in Kendo, for example, it's just a headshot. But if you can perfect the headshot, you can perfect everything else. So all the kids do from, say, 4 years old to 8 years old is just headshots, headshots, headshots. No blocking, because blocking means you lost already. There's no such thing as blocking in Kendo or the sword stuff. Makes you wonder. You come over here to the United States, it's all about the first thing is blocking. Well, I'm going to get pummeled before I throw a punch. If you're that good, nip it in the bud. Most people have to talk because they've been indoctrinated in the woman's language where I gotta talk. Well, wait a minute, I gotta talk about me being a black belt. Why don't you just hit him in the head, hit him in the mouth, and nullify the situation as a black belt?
No, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct, and that's what people need to understand. Our school systems have gone from an educational system, in most districts nowadays across the United States have adopted this school to prison pipeline uh, mentality that when if you're in elementary school and you did something wrong, you're going to be placed in an alternative school. And if you did something wrong again, well, you're going to go back to the alternative school. You do it one more time, you're going to go to juvie. You do it one more time, or you defended yourself against a bully, now you're going to go to juvenile. So by the time the kid is in high school and something happens wrong, now the kid's 16, turns 17. Well, guess what? You've already been to juvie. Now you're going to the county jail.
Yeah,
And
they've
I,
made the laws so bad now that, as I was saying earlier, punch them and stuff, but they've made all the laws. I think all the laws were made by women again, just because they've taken the out of men and they've turned them into a whining bunch of little pussies that you hit me, I'm going to go tell, and you're going to be in jail. To look at my phone, it's sort of like you see these things on TV where someone's getting stabbed or killed or beat up, and everybody has their phone and they're watching. But then again, so are the wildebeest watching one of their watching one of their own getting eaten by the crocodile. People are people, and men are men, and there's very few men.
absolutely. There's a lot of males out there. I like to use
Lot of beta out there.
a lot of males out there, a lot of males, but there's very few men.
Yeah, no, lot of chickens, only a few roosters.
Absolutely.
And if you watch a rooster, they're not mean and nasty. They know they rule the roost, and they're courteous and they're nice. Because if you look at animals, because we're just trying to be roosters or we're just trying to be bulls, we're just trying to be the alpha male, sort of, if you think about it, that can protect ourselves. But after you learn, you protect yourselves, that's where you gain the humility. Like if you're the head rooster, they protect the whole bunch. They are the ones that eat last. They're the ones that greet everything else. It's amazing how a barnyard animal and a male, we're all barnyard animals deep down.
My grandmother used to have chickens and roosters, and my uncle said, I want you to watch the roosters. It's funny that you said that. It goes, every time he drinks water, he's the only animal that drinks water and looks up to heaven and thanks God for having water.
Hey,
And that's something that makes you, like you said, you're gonna fight like a rooster, but you better be humble and thank the good Lord all the time.
yeah. Yeah, you do. Well, we got about 35 chickens, so we'll watch whatever's coming on the horizon pass us by. But nevertheless, you just see real life in the chickens, the weak ones compared to the non-weak ones, the pecking order, you know. So when you see all this and then you look over in society, it's the same thing. And there's a pecking order. But the problem is the indoctrination has made the pecking order more among men now. And it's amazing where in the pecking order, if you're low bird on the telephone pole or whatever you want to call it, they're the ones with the less discipline. They're the ones
Absolutely.
that will, yeah, they're the ones that are going to throw their belt up. They're the ones in the lion pride that never get laid. You know,
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And I'll leave you with this. Folks out there, you guys stay safe because we can continue talking about this and we probably will. But you all stay safe. And I once more train, train now more than ever. Learn how it is because a lot of people always say, I'm going to train tomorrow. I'm going to start next week. I'm going to go that. If you want to train in whatever, whether it's Savat, Kendo, Kempo, Capoeira, Karate, Judo, whatever it is, go out there and do it. I'm going to tell you why. Because when the time comes and the shit hits the fan, which right now it's flying across, hasn't hit it yet, but it's up in the air. When that happens, whatever training you have, you're going to have. That's it.
yeah. And even if you turn and run with the training, you won't fall on your face and trip over
Absolutely.
your feet. Even in
Absolutely.
even in a retreat, if you know what you're doing and know your body, you're not going to fall to the ground because most people do. That's when they get speared.
Absolutely. You're correct. So, brother, until next time, it's good talking to you. We have
Good
to get
talking to
together
you.
soon. And we'll get together soon. We'll do something for you to come out here back in Texas.
Sounds great. I love breakfast tacos.
I got it. Be safe.
You take care.
Be safe. Ciao.